Okay, so tonight we're going to be in the book of Proverbs. Is it 26 or 27? 26 in verse number 11. Okay, chapter 26 and verse number 11, if you would please. Be turning there if you would. We're just about done with the book of Proverbs. It's a unique book for us at Lumber River Bible Church because this is the last book that we are studying that we have not done. We've never done the book of Proverbs. At this moment, we'll have done every book in the Bible, verse by verse, reading every verse. And for those of you who know me, we read every verse because it's important.
That's pretty good. That's been a lot of years.
Yeah. We've done a lot of books over and over and over too now. We've done a lot of them more than one time. These were hard ones. We keep putting it off, you know.
So Genesis was the last, Genesis Proverbs the last one got put off.
No. Psalms and Proverbs.
Psalms and Proverbs.
There were two hard ones to go through, but we've done them. Okay, and an organized Bible study is hard, but it's important. Probably the biggest genealogy you ever find is you go to the book of Chronicles. You just go to First Chronicles and you're like, wow. I mean, I don't know if you ever looked at it.
Began.
No, it's just genealogies. If you go to First Chronicles, you start looking through these, you're going to say, what? Oh, you got to be kidding me. That's it? All those, it's genealogy after genealogy, but they're important, and you start learning it later on. You don't realize how important it is until you understand your own salvation, that it is just as there is a descendant, and that's how sin propagated, that's how salvation propagated. You died for one man, everybody's saved. We're all part of it. All right, we're in the book of Proverbs, chapter 26. If you look down in verse number 11. To get back where I'm supposed to be. There we go. Because I studied this today. It was a lot of some really good things in here. Verse 11. As a dog returneth to his own vomit, so a fool returneth to his folly. In other words, it's bad and it's very vulgar to say that, but it's the same manner. You know, they're going to go right back to the same old thing. As a dog returns, they're going to go right back to the same thing again. And it's bad, but it's going to happen. Sayest thou, man wise in his own conceit? There's more hope of a fool than him. If you got an individual that's wise in his own eyes, his own conceit, a man that says he knows everything, you are better to have a fool than to have a man like this. More hope in a fool than to have a man like that. A fool has more hope than a man that is filled with conceit or pride or think of wise in his own eyes. If you got a person who thinks, I know it all, and you can't tell them anything, a fool has more hope than that person. You can't help him. He already knows it all. I want to read this one that David Guzik had on Morgan. He was quoting from G. Campbell Morgan. The greatest fool is the fool who doesn't know that he's a fool. You know, he's just wise in his own eyes. Number 13. The slothful man saith, there is a lion in the way. A lion is in the streets. It says that a man that is slothful, a lazy man. He said, look, I can't go out and work. There's a lion in the streets. You better stay home. There's COVID out there. We can't work. We've got a shelter in place. Stay home. Remember that? Now, everybody in the world knows you can't stay home all your life. You got to work. So you got to eat. Where you going? You got to go get something to eat. What if the grocery store man's got to go to work? I can't drive there. I ain't going to gas, man. I mean, all of the people that's going to provide electricity, all that has to work. But a lazy man will give every excuse why I don't have to work. A lazy man will say the lion is in the road, a fierce lion is in the streets. Then he goes on in the next verse, 14. As the door turneth upon his hinges, so doth the slothful man upon his bed. You know, hinges you can't just turn any way you want to, right? You go back and forth like this. So that's the way a man is in his bed. He don't like getting out of it. He likes to sleep late. Could you say that of a cardboard box?
Let's see.
I mean, I don't know if y'all been keeping up with this in San Francisco. It's unreal. I mean, everywhere you go in the city, it seems there's people living in cardboard boxes. I mean, and they're going to house all the homeless. They don't want to be housed. You already seen what happened. Remember the hotel they did? Was it New York or Baltimore? They did the hotel and they put everybody in it. Pretty soon the women were getting raped. People were getting shot because you just give a free rein. These are evil people, most of them drug addicts, to attack each other. You got to put police in there. You got a little city there and you got to take care of them. Put them in a place like that. My goodness. Get them up. They need housing. No, they need a job. Need a job, right? As we read last night when Judah told Tamar to go back to her daddy's house, women didn't live on their own. Women went back home, stayed with their father where there was protection.
I had to give him drugs.
It's the truth. Protection. Daddy protects his daughter until she's married. Now it's his responsibility to take care of her. But a man loves to sleep back and forth, just don't want to work, don't want to have a job. Verse 15, the slothful hideth his hand in his bosom. He grieveth him to bring it to his mouth. He's too lazy. He's so lazy he wouldn't work in a piping factory. That's the saying we used to have. This is just crazy to think of it like this. The lazy, he says, he buries his hand in the bowl, buries it, brings it to his mouth. He puts his hand in his bosom. He's too lazy to put the food to his own mouth. They're just that lazy. My son had a dog that was lazy like that. Tell him about that lazy dog, Matt.
Lay down to eat.
The dog wouldn't stand up to eat. Get there, lay down the food, lay down and eat. We watched. There is, I said, well, I rubbed on the dog. I don't know why that came to my mind, but I remember that dog. That dog lay down and eat. Yep, too lazy to stand. Laziness. By the way, laziness is contagious. Very contagious. And you know what keeps a person lazy? Somebody providing for them. And why are they being provided for? Because unfortunately, many of American men have been raised by nothing but a woman. That's bad. Yes, that's bad. You can't learn how to be a man but from another man, because a woman can't be a man. It ain't in her. She's not a man. She dresses like a man. She acts like a man, but she ain't a man. Just like a man ain't a woman, sister. A man ain't a woman. You can't try all you want to, but you ain't no woman. You can be feminine, do everything you want, but you're not a woman. You don't think like a woman. But you can't be that way. Well, but women have taken up for boys. Boys get in trouble. Mamas take up for them. Women will have a heart for them. And we have men today that have never been raised by a man. You know what a man does? Come here, boy. And he knocks him down. Get up, get up. He'll beat you. Try it up. You know, that kind of thing. You know how a man is. But they learn to be tough. And as opposed to being, come here, honey, Mama will rub your feet for you. I know they're hurting you. Okay, I know what you need, I'll go buy it for you. Just that kind of a thing. But look, he hides it. It grieved them to bring it to his mouth. He won't even feed himself. He is so lazy. This is America, brothers and sisters. And we got it in Robeson County. I mean, have you ever been by Robeson County? You go to Lumberton, and on the street corner, you've got grown men standing waiting for a handout. Grown men. I mean, able-bodied men, and you got to help putting signs up. Brothers and sisters, there's signs out there. If a man's got enough strength, he can stand on a corner for hours. You can get a job and go to work. No, I'm not giving you my money. You're hateful and cruel. No, I'm not hateful and cruel. And if I am hateful and cruel, then I'm hateful and cruel. You're not a Christian. Okay, I'm not a Christian. You don't love people. I don't love people. So whatever you want to say, but a man that won't work shouldn't eat. That's the Bible. We're in a Bible study, aren't we? Okay, it's a Bible study. And God has a thing for men. God does not like it about women. No. It's about men. Men ought to work. Okay? It doesn't say that about women supporting a family. But it does say that about men. But if any provide not for his own, especially those of his own house, he hath denied the faith and is worse than an infidel. I'm quoting that out of the King James Version. He's speaking about lazy people that won't even bring the food to their mouth. So you just these people, they're poor and they're destitute. They're poor because you don't work. Now, a man that's got a disability, he ain't got but one leg. Help him out. He can get a job doing a job where we can do it with one leg. But he needs a job. Really, even them? Have you ever seen these companies? There's companies out there that will hire highly functioning Down syndrome, people with handicap that want to work, sweet.
Oh, yeah, they got
There's
one
there's lots of people that try to help, and they'll work. And people want to do that. You know, if you're down on your luck, people pay you money. They'll slip you money. A man that'll work, people love to help a man that's trying to help himself. And I hope that you've got that kind of a heart. People that are struggling, that are trying to work, man, help those folks out. But this is speaking, Proverbs is written in a day and time not like our own, but it seems to be, he was talking to us as well as his day because they had the same kind of people there. No, the sluggard is wiser in his own conceit than 7 men can render a reason. A lazy man is wiser in his own eyes than 7 men that can answer with good sense, reason. A lazy man is wiser than everybody else. He don't want to work. And he thinks he knows more than you know. Look how much time he spent on just talking about lazy people.
Is it he that, when it says he that can render a reason, is that somebody with a disability?
7 men that can give you a reason. He seems, in other words, people that are smarter than him. He thinks he's wiser than 7 men that are smarter than him.
Okay.
They can give good reason. A lazy man thinks he's smarter than the people out there. I heard it today. September and October, what do you find? The NFL's ongoing. What do we call them? Armchair quarterbacks. Knows more than what the coach knows, right? Armchair quarterback. The quarterback should have done some of that. We said that's an old saying we have. The armchair quarterback means he could have done it better. He knows more. That's just a lazy person thinks he knows more than nobody, but he's lazy. They didn't want to do it. I know more than they know, but you got to get out and prove it. You have to go to work. Again, that's verse 17. Let's go to something else. Let's move on to the other one. All right. He that passeth by and meddleth with strife, belonging not to him, is like one that taketh a dog by the ears. Mind your own business, what he's trying to say. A person that meddles, it says he passes, he meddles with strife. In other words, if there's trouble going on between 2 people, there's strife going on, he meddles in it. That's like taking a dog by the ears and grabbing him. You got him, right? But if you got to let him go, how you going to let him go? He's going to bite you, right? You've gotten yourself into a mess. You take a dog by the ears, what you do? Well, I'll let him go. He's going to bite you. You got to hold on to him. You should not have started. Huh? Yeah. I think with David Guzik giving the commentary, he said, no wonder Samson said he got the foxes by the tail and tied them together. Don't grab the end that bites. But again, he says, if you're meddling, he says, don't meddle in disputes. Who passes by and meddles in a quarrel is going to, it ain't even yours. Stay out of it. They love to get in the middle of stuff. He says, you're asking for trouble. Well, if you've ever gotten in the midst of especially domestic violence and domestic problems, I'm going to give you some advice. Both wrong. There's never a time when both of them are right. And there's never a time when one's all right and the other's all wrong. Usually it's a little bit of both of them. Now, that may not seem pleasant, but it's just truth. And you get involved with it. You'll find out right quick, guess what? You try to take her aside, and you're against a man, pretty soon she'll turn on you. That's my man you're talking about. Well, you said that's just the way it is. So it's dangerous to get involved with things that don't belong to you. Be careful. It's just wise. He says, as a madman who casteth firebrands, arrows, and death, so is he that deceiveth his neighbor and saith to him, am not I in sport? In other words, a man that deceives his neighbor says, I was just picking at you. I was just joking. That's what it means in sport. We have an NIV. Brother Reggie, could you read that verse 18 and 19 together?
18 and 19?
Yeah.
I don't flip the page. Yeah. Okay. Like a madman shooting firebrands or deadly arrows is a man who deceives his neighbor and says, I was only joking.
Hey, there you go.
You deceive your neighbor and says, I was just picking at you. I was just joking, man. People do that stuff, right? They'll actually do those things. I was just joking. I was just picking. I was just picking at you. Right? Those things happen. You deceive your neighbor. And then say, I was just joking when you cause trouble. It says, it's like when you do that, it's like a madman who casts firebrands, arrows, and death. It's a deadly thing to do that. especially your neighbor. Don't do him like that. Well, where there's no wood, there the fire goeth out. Where there's no talebearer, the strife ceaseth. When ain't no wood, the fire goes out, don't it? When nobody's telling more tales, carrying gossip, guess what? Strife ceases.
Does anybody have this problem? Let me tell you what they see.
Yeah.
And I tell folks most of the time, I said they will lie to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can remember a time when it was legal to curse somebody out. Well, I'm going to tell you what they said. Now, these are the exact same curse words. Huh?
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
And it's like, that is how crazy they are. But he said, let me read the other version. Where there's no wood, the fire goes out. Where there's no talebearer, strife ceases. People that goes around gossiping, spreading strife, it ceases when they stop speaking. They sow discord, trouble in the church. It's like, hey, brother, you hear about so-and-so? You know, I ain't got nothing wrong with it, but I think so-and-so has a problem with it. You know, I don't know about you, brother. It kind of gets to me something. What do you think? And you know they want you to agree with them, and this just stirs up strife. We used to call it sowing discord amongst the brethren. It happens all the time. But if you stop that, it all goes out. Verse 21 is, coals are to burning coals, and wood to fire, so is contentious man to kindle strife. Coals are to burning coals. Put coals on it, well, it's going to burn even more. And put wood to a fire. A contentious man, he stirs up strife. A contentious man, he will kindle strife. Contentious means angry. A contentious person who is easily to be offended. They stir up strife. And they say those things. We've all heard those. Yeah, this is common sense. The words of a talebearer are as wounds, and they go down to the innermost parts of the belly. A talebearer. That's the third time he's talking about people who spread gossip. People who spread gossip. Who give out tales and they talk about others. And they love to do that. Now, let me ask you this. Now, don't raise your hand. How many of you got somebody that you know good and well, they're all the time talking about somebody else? Telling you what happened. We got them. And you can do your best, try to stop, and they will go on and on. Well, you shouldn't be saying that. Well, I'm just telling you the truth. It's still a talebearer. And it's like throwing fire on something.
They just tell you lies. They lie about stuff you know they lie about. They still lie to you.
Well, that's even worse.
Yeah.
But even if it's the truth, but you shouldn't be telling things like that when you don't know the whole story, right? It's one thing to tell somebody, brother, I need to tell you this. You know, so-and-so I don't think is a good man. Here's why. Why? Because you know what he did. He told me he was cheating. And he's supposed to pay y'all so much, and I'm the partner, and I know that he's cheating, and he's cheating out of your money. I mean, it's one thing to tell, because you're doing it for their benefit. You're not passing along gossip. You're trying to help a person. That's what he's talking about. He's talking about just talebearers. And the words, they go down to the innermost parts of the belly and the inmost part of the body. No, stay away from this, folks. He says, burning lips and a wicked heart are like a potsherd covered with silver dross. Now, that's complicated, but he means when you got a fervent speech, right? He says fervent or burning lips with a wicked heart. In other words, you got a passionate lips like they're really telling you the truth, but you got a wicked heart inside. That's like taking a potsherd that's made of clay, but you put silver on top of it, make it look like it's good. You can't tell them. You're just putting something on something that you're covering something that isn't that good.
Yep.
That's what it means. It's no good at all. In fact, Brother Reggie, would you read that verse out of the NIV? It's 23.
Like a coating of glaze over earthenware are fervent lips with an evil heart.
Fervent lips with an evil heart. He says you're burning lips with an evil heart. You just the lips just cover what's really on the inside. They butter you up. They tell you everything you want to hear. They say the nice things, and they try to make you believe that they're good people. They love the Lord. They're like everybody else. And they're just covering up something deep, just evil inside, wickedness inside. It's like taking a silver and covering a pot that's made of clay. Yeah, you wouldn't make a silver lid for a pot of clay, would you? You get a clay pot top. You would silver on top of a silver. That's what he means by this. People that are bad, They just cover up their wickedness. They love to tell you these things and portray themselves as such when they're really not. They really aren't. He that hateth dissembleth with his lips, and layeth up deceit within him. He who hates disguises it with his lips, and lays up deceit within himself. He disguises it with his lips. Even though he hates, what does he do? His words hide that he's not a bad person. There are people who put on airs, we said, to put on airs and make themselves seem as they're not that bad. But they cover it up. He lays up deceit within himself. In other words, I am a good person. I'm as good as you are. But they're really lying about it, aren't they? Well, when it's not Bible study, it just seems to be what every time we have Bible study. Last week, same thing, remember?
Yep.
That is heavy storms for church time.
Thank you, Wood Drive.
Amen. Amen. But again, you can cover up with your words and make yourself seem as you're just like everyone else. I mean, you hear that. They love to talk about it. And I've heard Brother Reggie say this. I've heard Brother Matt say it. I've heard some of you say it when you work with the public and you got somebody will come working and they love the Lord and all that. They start cursing some. They talk about stuff they have in business. You hear that. With lying lips, they'll do that. He that hateth dissembleth with his lips. He who hates disguises it or dissembleth. He disguises it with his lips and lays up deceit within him. When he speaketh fair, believe him not, for there are 7 abominations in his heart. When he speaks sweetly to you and kindly to you and so nice to you, be careful. You know what's inside this person. You always give them the benefit of the doubt. We've said that. Well, you should just look over that or give them the benefit of the doubt. And I said to someone, I said, look, that tells you what they're on the inside. This tells you more about the individual than anything else. And if he says it here, he will lie about anything else. Any man that will lie about that, he's going to lie about everything else. And that's what he means by this. He says, he speaketh fair, believe him not. They're what? It's a whole lot worse on the inside. If you think you know this individual. He says, when he speaks kindly, who is it? The man that disguises hate with his lips. He's a man that hates. And he's always got a chip on his shoulder. Somebody else is always wrong. But he's your best friend. Get rid of it. Get rid of her. They disguise it with their lips. He said, this is the person, when they speak kindly, don't believe him, because they got 7 abominations in his heart.
What is that? 7 abominations?
7 times. In other words, abomination is something bad. 7 times. In other words, he's really bad on the inside. It's just 7 is just an arbitrary number, just saying it's a lot more than what you think. You think he hates people? He's a bad person. He says if he's that person, it's just the man that's hateful, you know it. The man that says he's good, but he covers it up. I've been to that. I can remember I'll never forget that funeral. How anybody showed up, but I have a good brother. Everybody said he was a good brother in the Lord. He just speaks his mind. But nobody showed up at the funeral. They didn't believe it either. They didn't think nothing much of the man because he was that kind of person. He'd just speak his mind and tell you what he thought. Well, he disguised it with his lips, but they knew inside what he really was. Whose hatred is covered by deceit, his wickedness shall be showed before the whole congregation. It's going to be made known. But his hatred, it's covered by deceit. He tries to deceive people, but it'll come out in the end, right? That's Matthew chapter 7, verse 15. He says, you'll know them by their works. You can pretty much figure it out. You know, many times we think of Jesus as being supernatural when you would understand about what the Pharisees and the scribes and the Sadducees, when they had their things laid up against him. But it wasn't hard to figure out because Jesus saw through them. Even though everybody respected them because of their ability to quote the Bible. How they were so profound in their knowledge above everyone else. But Jesus saw through this. He said, except your righteousness exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees. He didn't say, except your knowledge becomes more than theirs of the Bible. They knew the Bible, they knew it well. But he didn't say that. He says, your righteousness has to exceed theirs to get into the kingdom of heaven. They're lost. He saw through them. As he says, these people, hatred that covers by deceit. Their wickedness is shown before the whole congregation. It will be found out. It will be made known. The assembly, or the whole world, the secret will be made known. Numbers 32 and 23. And if you will not do so, behold, you have sinned against the Lord, and be sure your sin will find you out. Next verse, 27. Whoso diggeth a pit shall fall therein. He that rolleth a stone, it will return upon him. Whoever digs a pit, you're going to fall into it. You're going to roll a stone, it's going to roll right back over them. A lying tongue hateth those that are afflicted by it, and flattering mouth worketh ruin. All this is about people who deceive others. They say they love God. They say there are certain things, but they're not. And he says the people, they dig a pit, they'll fall in it. They make the stone, it'll roll over on them. They're going to be caught in what they're doing. You can't miss it. They're going to dig a pit for somebody else. They hate other people. They make you think they love them, and they don't really love them at all. It will catch up to them. Then he says, a lying tongue hates those who are crushed by it, and a flattering mouth works ruin. A lying tongue, the people they're going after, they hate them. They really do. And they hate those who are crushed by it. It doesn't bother them. A flattering mouth works ruin. A flattering mouth. Yeah, people flatter you, make and build you up. How many of y'all know of a famous case in the Bible where somebody was flattered and made a terrible decision? In the book of Daniel?
So,
Daniel. Daniel. Chapter 6.
it was Daniel.
The king, what was his name? Darius. From King Darius, what is? Yeah, remember? They came to, oh, king, you're the greatest king ever. We want to make a petition for you. Nobody can call on their gods for at least for the next 30 days. No petitions unless they call it. You're like God. We believe that much of it. And he signed a law that cannot be changed. When he signed it, they said, and then Daniel prayed to realize what he had been caught in. He knew it had been caught, didn't he? And because they deceived him, they played it, they used those flattering words. We think so much of you. People who flatter you, be careful when people flatter you. You know what? Nobody can do that job like you. You're the best we got. I don't know why in the world anybody, you should have been promoted a long time ago. You're the best person there is. I don't know what. Be careful about people like that. They flatter you. If you've ever been in charge of a church or had a little bit of authority in a church, it's going to happen. They'll always say, Brother Rich, well, I tell you what, brother, you do a fine job at this church, man. I don't know why you ain't like so, man. Thank you for all you do for us. I tell you what, man, you're the best one we got. I know you ain't chairman deacon, but you're the best one we got. And then they'll let you in on what they really want from you.
Brother, you're talking about Darius, Jerry's, whatever, all his name. But the one of the things that always amazed me about those verses is that how once he knew he had been set up, it just, the Bible verses just have me wonder what any amount of faith that he might have had in Daniel's God, because he couldn't hardly wait through the night. He couldn't.
Yeah, he believed in Daniel. He believed in Daniel's God, didn't
he? He did, but he needed to see it.
Yeah.
And that's
Hey, and at the end, what did he do with them men? He killed every one of them, didn't he? Threw them in the lion's den and their family. That's right, because they deceived him, but he knew it was his own fault. It was his fault. He said, I've made the mistake. What Daniel ain't your fault. He recognized it. It was his problem. And this is what he means by this. Look, a lying tongue hates those that are afflicted by a flattering mouth works ruin. People that flatter you. Woe unto the man of whom all men speak well of. Be careful when people flatter you. Now let's go to next chapter, chapter 27, if you would. Chapter 27. Ready? Boast not of thyself on tomorrow, for thou knowest not what a day may bring forth. Don't be bragging on, well, I'm going to do so-and-so tomorrow. You have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow. Now, it doesn't mean you shouldn't plan for the future, because God says that we should be planning for our futures. We should be laying up in store, right? The man that runs a shoestring operation in his home is in terrible condition, especially if he runs a business like that. That's a hard way to live, you know? I reminded one of the businessmen told me, he said, I feel like I'm on the train track and the train's behind me and I'm running as hard as I can. But if I make one mistake, it all is gone. My business is over. He said, I've gotten that close. It's like we say a shoestring operation. I'm hanging on by a shoestring. I'm almost under. The point he's making is this: don't be bragging about what you will and will not do. You make plans for it, but always recognize it may change. As I tell people, don't put your faith in man, put your faith in God. Man is imperfect. I can promise you I'm going to be there. I may not be there.
Lord willing.
Yeah. And where is that at?
Lord be willing.
James. Thank you, brother. Brother caught it from James. You mind what chapter? 4.
James 4:1.
I think it's 13. It says, in the King James, it says, go, I quote this one all the time because I had to learn this. This was a hard lesson for Brother Glenn. Go to now, you that say, today or tomorrow, we will go into such a city and continue there a year and buy and sell and get gain. For you know not what shall be on the morrow. What is your life? It is even a vapor that appeareth for a little while and then vanisheth away. For that you ought to say, if the Lord will, we shall live and do this or that. Amen. That's where it comes from. That's the idea where it gets it from. Is it 4 and 13?
Hold on. Yeah. 13 now. That's it.
Starts at 13. Yeah.
But we have a habit of saying, the Lord's willing and the creek don't rise.
The creek don't rise. In other words, there are things that can impede you, right? But he says, but don't boast not thyself of tomorrow. Don't boast about, hey, I got this coming. How many people have been boasting about, I'm counting on that's money in the bank, right? I'm going to get my Christmas bonus. Now, realizing the boss says, we ain't got no money to pay the Christmas bonus for this year. Well, I was counting on that money. Well, I didn't promise it to you. It's not part of your salary. It's a gift I give you all every year. Yeah, but that's part of our salary. No, and then they want to argue about it, You boast about what you're going to have tomorrow. And the other guy said, well, that's not fair. Somebody needs to do something. I'm sorry, but it burned down last night. Well, who's going to pay me my wages? You don't have a job anymore. But that's not my fault. You're supposed to have, I've got a job and the place burnt down. That ain't my fault. You're supposed to still pay me. People don't like that. Boasting about tomorrow. You don't do that because you don't know what tomorrow holds. Might be bankrupt, right? You're going to get no money out of them. You don't know what in the world is going to transpire tomorrow. So don't boast about tomorrow. For thou knowest not what a day may bring forth. Look at the next one here in verse 2. Very, very practical. Let another man praise thee, and not thine own mouth. A stranger, and not thine own lips. Don't praise yourself. Boy, ain't nobody can do it like me. I tell you what, I'm the best. All right, I'm good at so-and-so. There's a lot of them there, but I was better than all of them. I know I come in 5th place now out of 10, but I was the best one there. Or I don't know, what was that Barney said? It's just over their heads, Rafe had it, but we watched Rafe Hollister beat him out the other night in the singing contest. I was doing the classicals, it was above their head. I'm the better singer. There are people that brag on themselves. Remember Rafe Hollister and Barney? Barney would boast on himself. He's easy one to talk about it because he'd always boast on who he was. Yeah, like I can run the plant better than anybody else. Or I'm better at so-and-so. Having been in a lot of churches filling in, there's always somebody who knows how to run it better than you do. Always somebody who would say, it should have been done like this. I mean, just boisterous. This should have been done like this here. I can't believe y'all did that. Well, we did because what? And it doesn't matter. Let not another man praise. They just always bragged on what they were. They were better. They knew better. He said, look, if you want somebody to talk about how good you are, how well you can do something, let somebody else do it, not you. Let another man praise thee. No, not thine own lips. Don't ever brag on yourself. Let somebody say, hey, brother, oh, sister, hey, up here at the front. Don't think of yourself that good that you go to the front and they're going to sit you down. But let somebody else praise you, right? Let somebody else brag on you. Let somebody else tell you. A stone is heavy and the sand weightier, but a fool's wrath is heavier than them both. All right. I'll give you the old saying. Listen carefully. Ready? You ready? Which weighs more? 100-pound of bricks or 100-pound of feathers? Always, you've heard that 1,000 times, and they weigh the same. But your imagery kind of makes you not want to believe it, right? But again, it's hard to believe this. But look, he says, a stone is heavy and sand's weighty, but a fool's wrath is heavier than them both. A fool's wrath. And in other words, he's going to be mad and upset and angry, and they got a reason for it. That's why it's even worse, because he has no idea. He's upset about something he don't even know anything about. You can tell him something. You're just trying to call me stupid because I don't know. You don't know. But don't tell him that because you don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear it. And a fool's wrath is weightier than that. Right? It's just simply no. It's dangerous. Because a fool has no consequences. There's no limit to him because he doesn't understand. Because, by the way, you know how most people are? Most people, they will have an anger that is proportionate to what happened to them. Okay? Usually their anger is like that. But a fool was going to believe that it's far greater. He doesn't have any idea that it wasn't that much. But he thinks you're talking about him, and he has no idea because he doesn't understand. That's why I talked about it's weightier. Wrath is cruel and anger is outrageous. But who is able to stand before envy? Oh. Wrath is cruel. Anger, torment. Who is able to stand before envy? I think your Bible might say jealousy. Envious. Jealous of somebody else. Did you know people kill other people because of jealousy? They will actually, jealousy. My wife has a habit of watching those. What was the one last night? Was the woman who poisoned her two husbands with ethylene glycol?
Snap.
After their husband died and they figured it out, they went and checked. Her other husband died like this. You kind of figured out, that's antifreeze, by the way. It just, both of them died by antifreeze. Yeah, she was poisoning him, you know? I mean, it's people get envious. Remember the cheerleader that her daughter didn't get so-and-so and she killed the other one? Envious. What was the Olympics? Remember the young girl, the figure skater that hit the other one, that had hired somebody to hit the other one in the legs? Remember? Envy? I mean, wrath is bad. But when somebody's jealous and envious, oh yeah, a jealous husband, he'll kill you. A jealous wife, she'll destroy you. And jealous over a job. I should have got that title. That was mine. What was the young girl, Selena, or the girl that their manager killed her?
Selena?
Yeah. Jealous. Who can stand before envy? Jealousy. Huh?
Oriental guy so good. Stole like $100-some million from him. He broke the place for the Los Angeles Dodge. Somebody. Ball player, OSHA something was his last name. He had his own guy stealing money from him. Crowd money.
Yeah, jealousy or people being envious. By the way, envy, that's the sin of covetousness. When you want something belongs to somebody else. You're jealous of what they've got. That's being content.
But it's different when you take it, then that's another sin.
But I mean, that's what I'm saying. That's what causes you to do that.
Yeah.
The envy and the jealousy is what makes you do that. When you go and do those things, I should have just what they've got. They got money, and I ain't got none. They ought to share. That's the mentality people have. I mean, that's called jealousy, envious. And it leads to bad things. Open rebuke is better than secret love. If you ain't marked that in your Bible, if you mark in your Bible, please mark it. Open rebuke is better than secret love.
Somebody is loving a man.
An open rebuke is better than secret love. Yeah. It's not the same. You can love somebody, but if it ain't outward and nobody knows it, it's not going to help you any. Faithful are the wounds of a friend, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful. Yeah, you better pay more attention to the person, your friend, that says, he rebuked you, said, I don't think it should be like that. Brother, sister, I think you're wrong. Brother, I think you're wrong at this. and you get angry with him. But you rather have that than an enemy that says, you know what, I may be enemy. I think that's okay though. You're all right. Be careful. Why? Because you know what kind of person they are. You know them. By the way, if you know somebody, you know what kind of person they are. He says you don't want. Kisses of an enemy are deceitful. Don't accept their praises. Don't accept that. I'll give you one example in the Bible. Paul the apostle and his companion were walking around. There was a lady who kept coming behind them and kept praising. Listen to these men. They're servants of the Most High God. Do you remember that story? She was a soothsayer, and they got a lot of money off of her. Angel finally one day stopped and said, and rebuked, and this demon come out, or spirit come out, the spirit of divination. Because you don't want to have somebody like that praising you. You don't want anybody like that praising you. It's not of any benefit. It really isn't. That kind of benefit, You want an enemy to praise you? No, I don't need the enemy's praise. Because I know that they'll turn on you. Enemies, no. Faithful are the wounds of a friend. That's faithfulness. Number 7. The full soul loatheth the honeycomb, but to the hungry soul, every bitter thing is sweet. You get it? When you got so much food in your belly, guess what? Honey, I don't know if I want it or not. You get a man that ain't ate in 2 days, give him some collars, he's glad to get them. Boy, them sweet, boy. He says, even a man, he says, if he's hungry, even a bitter thing is sweet. Man, I don't like rutabagas. I can't eat them things. Get him hungry enough. Boy, that's sweet, man. That was delicious. That's the old story in Oliver B. Green, one of his commentaries. He talked about that story about the missionary. I told you that story when she boiled the water, had the water boiled, and they traveled all that time and told them don't drink the water, and had to get off the plane. They had to go on a jalopy, then had to track through it. They got in a little hut, and the missionary boiled the water so they could have something to drink. He said, man, that's the first time I ever say grace over water. I was so glad to get it. He said, had to say grace over a cup of water. You're so glad to get it. He said, man, you know what? When you're hungry, even something bitter, it tastes sweet to you. It's good. You're glad to get it. You don't care, do you? He said, think about that's really when you're full and filled, you don't care. Things just aren't pleasant. And you wonder why it's not pleasant because you got everything. My wife, we went Pigeon Forge, and I told you to get something last year, and you said I can't find nothing I want. Yeah.
She was sick there.
No, she wasn't. Huh? Yeah. She couldn't find anything. In other words, her soul was filled, so she didn't feel like, why would I look for something? I don't really need it. And that's the way life is. Brother Andre, you ever been on the battlefield, got some flying sausages, bro? What would they taste good in the back of field?
Well, in the
They
river,
still taste
Oh, the river?
we down in the river somewhere, and Daddy would pack a sardine crackers and sardines.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate sardines, but I would eat them.
Yeah, he sure did. I can remember I never eat hoop cheese. I got in the back of field, but worked with somebody else. We always had food. Now they'd feed us. But you go to work for somebody else, they didn't feed you at lunchtime. You get some hoop cheese down at the local store, man, you could eat, and some Vienna sausages. And you just thought would you be hungry? You were glad to get it. By the way, did you know we didn't even, back then it was a time when we were hungry. We didn't eat because it was time to eat. We didn't eat because the food was pleasant and tasteful. We ate because I was hungry. And guess what? You never said, Mama wants so-and-so to eat. Never. Let me say it again, young kids. Never, ever did I ever ask, what am I going to eat? What can I have? I want so-and-so. Never.
Never asked when either.
That's right. You were glad to get it. And it was good to you, right? That's why we could eat pigtails and pig's feet and things like that, right? Never could eat it before.
I gotta tell you something. Over the years, I noticed people how they find out with chicken. They can't get this leg, that finder, that. Then they'll pass me this place. Said, how about you, Mr. Bob? What's your thing? They said, oh, I get a piece of chicken. I'm satisfied. And I mean, because when I was raising up, you was lucky at what you got your hand on, buddy, because more hands there grabbing. You got about
That
eight
was-
hands,
yeah.
9 hands grabbed at the same time.
You didn't get the verse when the preacher was coming, did you?
I'm telling you, I'm reminded of that, Brother Bobby. That's the other thing. Even Jerry Clower said this because my mother, to this day, she loves neck bones and rice. But our mothers would always take the bad part of the chicken so her family could have it. Our women would eat not pig feet, the chicken legs. They love chicken feet, and they'd eat them, and the neck bones, and there's hardly anything on it. But that's because that's what they love. They gnawed it to death, so their families would have the best pieces of chicken. And that's a true story. I remember watching. My mother still loves neck bones and rice. And it's because there was hardly nothing on it. It's because that's what she was raised with. Because she is a woman, that's what women did. Women sacrificed for their families. They always did.
Brother Glenn, you know Holly Floyd, don't you? You know, he's actually he's actually in my family. Matter of fact, his father and my mother had the same father and mother. We went to his house one day. He said, "Man, I just had a problem chicken there, and all got a little hippie yourself, pasted chicken." We go down there and I probably pulled it. I saw what it was. He didn't waste nothing from a chicken. He put everything in there. And I'm more just picking to get what I want, and I want to get this paste and all. I said, now, then Linda, she goes and starts looking in there. Oh, she put over her place a little bit of paste.
But again, I never was hungry enough to eat souse meat. I'll say that. Number 8, as a bird that wanders from her nest, so is a man that wanders from his place. A bird wandering from her nest ain't got no protection, ain't got no home. That's a man that wanders from his place. You got to know your limitations. You need to know your place, where you are, and be satisfied where it is. When you wander from your place, what did God call you to be? Then be that. But for God's sake, don't wander and do things that He didn't call you to do. Don't try to take somebody else's place. I want the same kind of glory they've got.
A woman pastor.
Huh?
A woman pastor.
Well, that's being envious of other places. Yeah. What's your place? But even a man, if God didn't call you to be the pastor, why are you trying to be the pastor?
Amen.
You know, I grew up when we had men that were trying to be the deacons. You know, their job was to hire and fire preachers. They come and go. They run the church, not the pastor. It was that kind of an attitude. And by the way, have you ever noticed that? The pastor will leave, but the deacon board never does. Why? It doesn't make any sense. So guys, if you're not following the lead, well, you know, we'll make the decision. The preacher, he's supposed to preach. The Bible says he's a shepherd. He's supposed to be leading, right? Leading in that manner. I had another brother this week. Wonderful. I talked to a lady today. Running to somebody today. She says, "My goodness." I love to go to church, but it's hard to find them. They're raising money for this, raising money for this, raising money for this, and telling us how much we got to pay. We ain't paying enough. Somebody needs to pay $500. You need to pay this. How much money you got to pay in the church? And they got all these programs they can't afford. And the pastor played around twice. He says, "This is about money. I've never seen such." He says, "It's terrible. It's not just paying your tithes, but if you got all these programs, we raise the money every week. Something else we got to raise money from. And it's always we're working to try to raise money." He says, I told him I got to go. And that's the second church, brother. I said, "Ma'am, I'm sorry to hear that. You're 66 and trying to find a church. That's kind of rough at that age." But it happens in a lot of places. Knowing your place, even the church's place. What's your responsibility? Go into highways and hedges, compel them to come. Right? Like the Son of Man has come to seek and to save what's lost. That's our responsibility to continue it. So what do we do at the church? All about our people. As the preacher said the other week, he said, we spend more on our people than we do on missions. We're spending more on the senior citizens and the youth than we spend on missions, spreading the gospel. More money is spent on that than on anything else. And that's just sad. And we got to change that. And it happens. You can get so fast. By the way, a family life center. How many, you know how your church has got a family life center? What's a family life center?
You got one right here?
What's a family life center? A gym. There you go. It's a gym, right? It's a big meeting place. We're going to rent it out for people too, right? Make it big enough we can rent it out. Why? It's a fellowship hall. We used to love to have those. I got no problem with those. You're not in the sanctuary. We go eat at the church. We have eaten a lot of times. There's nothing wrong with it. I just simply tell them, it says, what's its purpose? And be careful that you keep feeding the people, spend more on the people than you spend on missions. So you have to be really careful. Knowing your place, what God called you to do. And God didn't call the church to raise money. That's not our responsibility. And be careful when you're going out of your place, doing things that God didn't call you to do. We're supposed to be spreading the gospel. Let's use that verse number 9. 27:9, brother. 27:9. We'll stop at 27:9, okay? All right. God bless you. Thank you for your time. Have a blessed evening. All right. We'll start there.